Once upon a time there lived a great king named Othniel who was the most prosperous and generous in the whole world. The name of the kingdom was Isle de Mercia. None equaled him in any way. He always gave gifts to everyone who came to him. Never did anyone go empty-handed from his palace. He had a secret pool which had the blessing that it can heal any ailments in the world. The king did not know about it and used this pool's water to cook food, and this pool served as the source of water to the king's palace. The world out there was ailing with disease and poverty, but this king had healing flowing through his palace. The king was loved by his kingdom. The king's generosity was abundant that some did not believe until they had tasted it. Those who heard his great-heartedness doubted in the beginning. Then they experience it with faith and share with others, and everyone who came to him received. The king's barns were always full. All that came to him received until he was full. Once there was a man who was from a distant land who was in search of a healing for his ailment. He was leper, and his leprosy was about to spread all the way to his feet. He was ailing with pain, not able to touch anyone whom he loved. This created a remorseful feeling in him. He had not touched his loved ones from a long time. He heard of this king and wanted to request him to be healed. He heard that the king is very generous and never denies anyone of his need. The man doubted whether a king would be willing to see such an ordinary person as he. Then he heard some men talking that the king had heard the request of all that went unto him. He heard about the goodness, yet doubted if the king would reckon him. The man yet decided to make the journey to the land. He gathered his 2 friends together and took the journey. In the journey they met a man who would lead them to land of Isle de Mercia as he was headed towards the isle. The man knew the king very well, and he told the stories of the beautiful king and spoke to them how goodness and kindness flows through him. His being is flowing with love, and he is friends with the God himself. He daily seeks him, and God comes and blesses him. The man was amazed at the discourse of the beauty of the king. The man told them that the king is so majestic and chief among 10,000s that he fell down when he saw him for the first time. His beauty, his bearing, and his lips that drop honey are worth seeing the rest of the life. The eyes of the king burn with fire, and the love oozes out of his heart. He is so full of love that he keeps on lavishing on the one who open their hearts. Unfortunately, most of the people did not believe that there lies such goodness in this world. But to their surprise there does lie such goodness. His Majesty Othniel was the one who is the love of lover, beauty to the seer, food to the hungry, drink to the thirsty, sight to the blind, day to the darkness, hope to the lost. The leper and 2 men in their hearts yet doubted whether such a king would accept such a lowly people and talk to them. They told it to the man their tumult. The man replied, "You doubt his goodness, that's okay, but the important thing is to come. It is always difficult to believe in goodness and love when freely given. Taste the king, for he is good and mercies are never old." This boosted the faith of the 3 men, and they moved forward towards the isle. There arose a great storm in the sea, and days they lost the sight of land. They thought they would be dead, but the man made a prayer to the God of his king. The east wind blew immediately, calming the storm. The men were sore afraid and were amazed. Finally, after 7 days they came to see the calm sea and the Isle of Mercia. They went into the land and saw how beautiful and majestic was the land was. The leper and other men immediately went to the palace without wasting time. The men went to the king's table and began to eat. The moment they took the bite on the meat lying on the table, leprosy left him and the other men were healed too. The man cried at the loveliness of the king. The generosity of the king made the leper fall for him. The man was so touched by the love that king showed him. The man went to the king and said, "My lord, accept my servitude, for I don't want to lose sight of you. Nowhere else did I find life." The king accepted his servitude. The man was called Obadiah. Obadiah became the right-hand man of the king. Certain days passed. The king now wanted to throw a great feast which will last continually, as this will satisfy the heart of king who wants to give. His barns were full enough to give. The king was so happy, and he sent invitation to the whole world. And people began to make excuses. Some said, we are very busy for this. Some said it's too far away. Some said, I have married a wife so I cannot come. They made excuses not to come. Obadiah reported unto the king. The king was very angry and gave him order to him to bring the poor, the needy, the blind, the lame, the unhealthy from all the cities from the world. All the lame, the blind, the poor came to his table. The servant of the king said, there is still room. The king commanded to bring the people, the lame, the blind, the poor from the villages. The servant brought out of villages. They began the feast along with the king. There was food enough for all, and there was plenty left over. Everyone that ate was whole and healthy and loved the king. They blessed the king, went outside and spoke to the people of the world. Go see a king who generously gives, and you may be healed from all your afflictions. The more people heard of the great feast and believed and went to eat, and they were healed all their ailment, not one left in their body. The feast of the king yet continues.